Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in this video we are going to start with the major operations like add book, delete and edit. Okay, so let's begin with the operation of adding the book. So if you click on the add book path, then you'll see that currently our page is empty, right? So we need to display some kind of a form where user can enter the details of the book, and we will collect those details and send a request to our backend API for performing the add operation. Okay, so before we start with that, let's at least first call our APIs, build a functions for calling the backend APIs. So let's go to book service and let's say export const add book. And now here in this while calling this API, we have to pass, if you see here, if we go to our backend code, so in this add book we are having these two objects. It is a string JSON object, right? And there is a multi-part file. So basically it is a multi-part request. So for handling such multi-part request, or for sending the multi-part request from front end to the backend, we use a special type called as form data. Okay, so form data, and it is all of type form data. Okay, so this is what we use. Also, one small mistake that we did earlier was we should make these calls as async. Okay, so I made that mistake earlier. I didn't include that async. So all these API calls should be async await, right? Because it's all about, because we need to wait for the data to get fetched or for the operation to get performed, right? And then we will say simply return await axios dot post. Okay, we will use the post method. We will put our base URL. We will say API slash v1 slash books slash, and it is add book. So add book. Okay, now here we have to pass the form data, so we will just simply pass say form data. Okay, it is that easy. So we have built a function for adding the book. Right, now let's come to our add book component. Now in our add book component we have to make form. Okay, so first let's initialize our component fce. Okay, and let's remove this. So we save it and come here. Then okay, because of navbar it is not coming. Just let me make it empty10 text center. Let's change it to h1. Okay, let me check what problem is. Okay, so we have actually not added the route only, so that is the problem. So let's add the route for it. Okay, so we'll say add book, and element is going to be add book. Okay, self closing, and let's close this. Let's save it, and you can see we are getting the add book here. Okay, now since we are now getting our add book component here, so what we need to do is, so we need to now create our form. Now before we create our form, we need two things. First thing is we need to store the book data. So book data means, if you go here, we need to get this book DTO object. Now in book DTO object we need all this data, and second thing we are going to get is the file, because file has to be handled differently, and book data, which will be a part of JSON, will be handled differently. So here also we have to handle both data differently. So how we will do is, we will say the form data. Okay, we will use the hook use state, and we will have this particular variable will use the form data, the JSON data basically, and we will say set form data and use state. Okay, now what this state will contain? This state will contain basically our book DTO object, whatever the fields are there. So we will say ISBN is our field, and then title is our field, author, and then description, category, then price, and then quantity. We are taking price and quantity also as a string because it will get automatically casted to the integer values. Because if you see in the backend code, we are already converting this using get DTO. So while converting, it will convert it. Okay, if we pass a correct value like 23 or 100, then it will parse the string to the integer. Okay, so that's not a problem. Now next thing is we need to handle the files. Okay, and for handling the file we are going to use another state. So for that we will say book cover file, and we will say set, and we will just copy this, paste this, and make it capital. So set book cover file, use state. Now use state here, we will initial value will be null, and the type of use state we will define as file or null. Okay, because it can have either a file object or it cannot have a file object. Why? Because here, if you see here, in this request part we have said required equal to false. So a book object can be saved even without the file. The file part is optional. Okay, right? So this use state is for handling the files. We will also have one more use state. Now this use state is not required for our API, but I'm adding it for the purpose of the UI, and it is called book cover preview. So we will give some kind of a preview of the book image. So you will see it, how it works basically. So use state, it will be of type string, and will pass an empty string here. Okay, so these fields, important fields, are required. Now I will just add all the classes, and I already have a form, so I will just copy paste that form, and then I'll explain it to you. Okay, so I have copy pasted this whole the code of the form which we are going to use. So here it is covered in a div. So here is a heading that add new form, and then enter the details to the inventory. It can be an inventory, it can be a store, whatever you want. I just added like inventory. Maybe we are having some kind of a bookstore, so we need to store in our inventory. Okay, then there is a form. Now in this form, if you see, here is a on submit handler, which is basically used for handling the submission of the form once we want to send the data to the backend. So we have handled all these things. Now there is a function known as handle form data change. Now this function is responsible to handle the JSON data. So JSON data means this one. Okay, and you see it is present over all the form fields here, right? So all the form fields I've included. Now if we come to file upload section, then we have one label which is a book cover, and then here we have some kind of a logic for seeing the cover image that we have uploaded, a kind of a preview. Okay, so you will understand that preview thing also. In case you want to remove the image, we have included a remove image thing also, and we have included the button for handling of the files. Okay, so if there is a kind of a file which comes, so these things will be there, and this button is since for removing the image. So we will set these two properties as default, as the book cover file will be null and the preview will be empty string. Okay, and everything in this one will be handled using book cover preview. Okay, and if you go below, then we just are giving a button for uploading the cover image. Here we have just described it like this, but in our case, since we need a PNG, so we will remove these two things. So PNG up to 5 MB. Why PNG up to? Because if you see in the file controller, we are defining that produces a media type of image PNG value. Okay, and then we are handling the file using a handle file change. Okay, so handling form using handle form data change, and handling file using handle file change. And finally we have reset buttons and add button. Okay, now that add button will be basically connected to this function. Okay, so let's define all these functions now. So first thing is handle form data change. Now in handle form data change, what we will get from it is an event. Now this event is of type basically react.change event, and we will have HTML input element. So since this event is, what it means is that any change in the input will be handled by the event. Okay, it will trigger a kind of event. So if you suppose see this one, okay, if you see this input ISBN, so we have given a type which is text, a name which is ISBN. So this name is important. Okay, remember, because it is used for handling this handle form data change. We will see it soon. Then we have given the value. The value of it will be form data.isbn. Okay, and which will basically set up the initial value also, and any change in the value will be reflected in the form through this field. Okay, so it is a React way of handling the things. React will handle it for us. So to observe the changes that we are doing, suppose we are writing the ISBN number, so we are basically, there is a change going on. Okay, so to handle those events, this is responsible, right? So that is how we are going to handle our events. And then we are going to say, since this is a function, so now we are going to now what exactly we have to do is we have to just set all the form data. So how we are going to set the form data? We will use this function. Now see, this function, basically we have to set the values of all these fields. Now there is a way how we can do is by individually setting up these values, or there is a very shortcut way to do it. Shortcut in the sense, it is a modern JavaScript, using modern JavaScript. Okay, so how can we do it? We will take the previous state of the function. It gives us the previous state, and using this previous state, what we will do is we will use the spread operator, that okay, this is our previous state, make the change to the previous state. How do we make the changes to the previous state? So we will pass e.target.name. so this target.name is nothing but this name. Okay, so for that field it will identify it and just give it the value. Okay, now what this value is, what we are passing to the, what we are writing in the field. So suppose in the title field, okay, currently it is empty. Now as you write the name of the book, so previous state of the so this set form data basically gives you the previous state. You can access the previous state. So previous state of the book will be empty, right? Because we have set the initial state as empty string. So that will be the previous state. What is the new state? So it will be e.target.name. e.target.name will be title. So title, if you go, this will be the title name, and e.target.value will be the change that is reflected. So if you have written the name of the book as suppose a brief history of time, so title will get the value of brief history of time. Okay, and this will work for all the form fields like this, right? So that's all for this handle form data change. I hope you have understood it. Now next, let's handle the const file, or it is, I think, handle file data change, handle file change. Okay, so we will handle this also. Now this handle file also will take the same thing, react dot change event, and it will be HTML input element, because file is also a kind of an input. Okay, so basically first we are going to check whether the files are there or not before handling it. Okay, so we will say e.target.files. if files is present, here we are only accepting a single file, right? So we will say e.target.files, and we will take the 0th index. Okay, because we are only accepting one file. Then we will simply say that okay, let's save this file into e.target.files of 0. We'll save it in a variable, and then we will, in the book cover file, we will set the value of the book cover file as file. Okay, so this is how we are handling the file, right? Now we also have to display the preview of the file. Okay, so how we display the preview? So for that we need to read the file. So for that we have to create another variable, const reader. It will be of type file reader. Okay, and then it has a value reader dot on load end. Okay, once the file load is completed, basically, then what it has to do is set book cover preview as reader dot result as string, because we have set its type as a string. Perfect. And then we will say reader dot read as data URL. So we basically have to display this also. So we are doing like this. Okay, so our preview is also completed. Now next function that we are going to handle is const handle submit, the main form submission. Okay, or we can handle this handle reset also. We will come to this handle reset later, but first let's do handle submit also. Handle submit. Okay, now this handle submit, if you are familiar with the concept of the basic form handling in React, then what we do basically is we get an event from it, and we say e.prevent default. Okay, now this e in this case is of type which we have to define. So it is of type prevent default, and it gives a void, something like this. Okay, so it basically avoids the form to behave when submitting the form to behave in a default manner, so that React can handle the form how it needs to handle. Okay, otherwise it will be handled in the traditional HTML form type. Right now we have in handle submit, what we have to do is we are getting the data of book, the JSON data from the form, and we are getting the file data. So we have to basically collect these two data and we have to send it to the API. Now if you see here the API, it is saying I need an object of type form data. Okay, so first we need to construct the form data object. So we will say, oh sorry, not here, we will say basically on submit data equal to new form data. Okay, we'll create an object of this, and then how do we put all those data? Because if you see in the backend, we need two things. First is book DTO JSON, and second thing is file. Now remember that the data will be sent as a key value pair, as we have seen in the Postman testing also. Okay, that we were sending in the form of key value pair. So here this is the key, and here for the file this is the key. So it has to be exactly the same. So let's copy this first, this name book DTO JSON. We'll come here and we will say submit data dot append. So append is a method where we have to do this. So in semicolons we will pass the key, and to pass the data in as a JSON but in a stringified man, we have to say JSON dot stringify, and we will simply say form data. Okay, next we will then check if book cover file is empty or if the data is there or not, and then we will say okay, submit data dot append, and then we are going to send file and book cover file, simply like this. Okay, once this is done, now we have to call our function from book service. So let's see if it can be imported. Yes, so it is imported, as you can see here, add book. Now we will use this add book and we will pass the submit data here, and then simply it returns a promise. Okay, so we will have then we'll have a response from the backend. So what we will do with this response, basically we will say add book response equal to, and we will print response. Okay, and we will then call handles reset. Okay, because we want to reset our form basically. Also we want to, after we are done with the add book, you can continue to add if you want, or you can go to the home page. So for going to the home page, we will use another hook, okay, which is known as use navigate. So we will say navigate equal to use navigate. So this is another hook provided by React, which is used to redirect the user from one page to another after performing some actions. So we will say navigate and we will go to our home route. Okay, so this is the whole thing, but there can be error also. So we will handle the error. So error will be like, we will simply first console the error only. So error adding book. Okay, so this is how we are handling the addition of this book. I hope you have understood it. Okay, and in the reset, we simply have to, what we have to do is we have to say set form data and then make all these fields as empty. So we will just copy paste this. Okay, this is how it will work, and then we will say set book covered file as null and set book covered file preview as empty string. We'll save the changes and let's go to our here page, and you see we have got our form here. Perfect. So it's looking a bit cool, right? You can redesign your form if you don't like this one. I just randomly have chosen the design of this, right? So let's try to add another book. So if we go to home route, we have all these book here. So in the add book, we will add another book maybe, but this time let's see what kind of book we'll add. Okay, we will add a book with the name The Grand Design. It is written by Stephen Hawking. Okay, oh sorry, here I got, actually we have to paste this into here, and Stephen Hawking. ISBN you can pass anything for now. I am passing simply like this. Category can be science. Price maybe $30. Quantity 100. Description is this book is about exploration into theory of everything. Okay, so this is about a theory of everything. If you have read the book, so we can have an image. So let me quickly download the image of this book. Okay, so I have downloaded the image of this book. So let's go to pictures, and here is the book. Let's copy this, and you can see this is what I was talking about, that we get a preview of this book. Okay, that what image we are downloading, and here's a button for remove. So if you click on here, again you get back the same thing. So let's keep the changes, and let's open our console so to see everything is working fine. Let's remove this, and let's add the book. So if we add the book, you can see here we have our book has come up here. So we are back with our response, right? Perfect. So this is exactly what we wanted. Now we have to move towards the edit and delete functionality. Okay, so we have completed this one. Now let's move towards the edit and delete functionality. So where is the edit book? Here is the edit book functionality. So how do we handle this edit book functionality? Now on the home page only where the books are displayed, here is the two buttons, edit and delete. Now currently we have not applied any kind of handlers on it, but on edit and delete now we will put some handlers. Okay, first, this is the first step towards doing the edit. So we will have a on click and we will say handle edit. Okay, now I will pass it as like this because I need to pass the book object here, and in the same way let's copy this whole and we will say handle delete. Okay, so we are going to have the two functions for this. So first let's define these two functions. The logic we will discuss surely, book of type book DTO, and the same way there will be handle delete. Okay, now we have defined that these two functions, so we are good with that. It is saying book is okay, that we will cover next. So how we are going to do this? So there are various approaches to it. Okay, so let's come to the page. So if you look here, we have this edit and delete button. Now if you click on it right now, nothing will happen, but basically what we have to do is that we have to edit our book. So how edit should work? If we click on edit, either the first approach is we can have a path. We can give edit book to a route and it will take to that route, and we will have a form there. We will populate the data which we have for this particular book there. We can edit the data, and we will, after editing, we can just click on update and it will send the updated data to the backend and we will get our whole thing, right? So that is first approach. The second approach that we are going to use here is using a dialog box. So if we click on the edit, a dialog box opens which has a form in which the data is populated, and there we can do all the things. So I find it a much more better way of doing it rather than the first one. I mean, better in the sense it is a personal choice. Okay, that is also completely fine if you want to go that way, because there is nothing else, like it is more efficient. Okay, it is just a matter of the personal choices how you want to do it. So I will go with the approach of having a dialog box popping up when we are clicking on edit or delete. Okay, so for that, because we know that in the edit book we are going to have a dialog box which is going to pop up. So let's design that dialog box form. Okay, so we'll say RFCE, we'll remove this, and what we are going to do is we are going to have a dialog box. Now we have to control the dialog box. We have to make sure that it is opened only when we are clicking on it and the data is transferred from the home component, because if you see here in the home component only, this button has the property of book. Okay, it has a information about this book, so we have to pass this one. So how do we pass this one? We can pass it through props. So we will create some props for it. Okay, so you can create something like something like interface, and you will have something like edit book props. So we will define these props here. Now these props are important. Why these are important? Because we are going to pass the information using these props. So the first thing is we are going to pass a book information. Okay, so it is going to be of type book DTO. Okay, or it can be null, right? Okay, second is going to be, is it open or not? So depending on the state of or on the value, whether it is open or not, this whole dialog box will be visible. Okay, next is on close, that any action to be taken if the dialog box is closed, and we will pass something like a function. Okay, and there is on submit. So it is again a property that on when we are trying to submit the form inside that dialog box, inside this dialog box, what action is going to be taken. So we have to pass basically a book of type book.do, and we have to pass a file of type file. So it will expect both of these things and it will return nothing. Okay, so these are the functions that we these are the properties interface that defines that this is the props that we require. Okay, now here we have to we will destructure the props and we pass book is open, close, and on submit. Okay, now if you are not able to understand for now, just wait for some time, because this is a slightly a tricky concept also when we are dealing with the dialog box, because there has to be communication between the home component and edit book component. Okay, and you will understand it soon that how we are going to have that interaction. Now the same way we have handled the add book, we have to set up our state also. Okay, so we will say const form data set form data use state. It will be of type book DTO, and we will pass book here simply, and we have to make ensure that this book is never going to be null. Why this book is never going to be null is because this dialog box will only be visible when this is open property is true. Okay, so we will see why this dialog box is not going to be, because just we are not clicking on anything, we are clicking on a particular data that is visible on our screen, and that's why. So next thing is to handle the file. So we will say book cover and then set book cover. Okay, so we will pass use state file null and initial value will be null. Then we will have for preview we need something, so we will basically get URL. Okay, preview URL set to preview URL. The state, it will be of type string or it can be null. So we will have, now from where we will get it, we will get it from book. So book, in case book is not empty, so we will say book cover URL. Okay, and null, because here we are not uploading the file, here we are trying to display the already uploaded file, so we need the book cover URL, right? Perfect. Now let me add the design for the form here. Okay, and then we'll discuss about it. Okay, so as you can see here, this whole design looks of edit book looks the same. Okay, handle submit and all these things that we have seen already. What is the change? That we already know that we already have the data and we just have to populate it. So this form data will already have a data, it will populate it. Okay, and here we have used a ref. We basically have used a reference state that is use ref thing to simplify things. You can use name or you can use reference, it doesn't matter really, it's both same. So if you don't understand what is the difference between the two, then in that case you need to revise your React concept, because this is not a React video. Okay, so we will be using all these states very comfortably, because use ref, use state, use effect all are very basic hooks. Okay, so let's first define our reference above and then we'll define all the functions. So we will say const input file reference use ref, and it will be of type HTML input element and initial value will be null. Perfect. So this is basically for handling the files. So if we want to remove the existing file and we want to have another file instead of that, so basically because we are performing a update operation, so this will be useful, right? So let's start with const handle form data change. So we will have the same thing as we had in the add one. So let's copy it. Okay, let me copy this whole. Now from here it will be easier because already you have understood the add book thing. Okay, so no, not a big deal. Again, I'm going to do the same. Actually, let's copy this only, because for edit book also, whichever field you change, their previous state or the current state you will get, and using the current state you can change there and they will get a new value if you change there, if you try to edit any of the values. Okay, so this is the basic functionality. Next we will have const file or const handle file change. Okay, so it will, so I have already inserted this type, we have already seen this, and it is also gonna be the same. So let's just copy paste it, the whole function, or maybe just this one part. Okay, now it is all about copy paste. Once you understand the basic things, then the rest of the things become easier. Okay, so not a big deal. We will say set preview URL. Okay, so it's as like that. Okay, perfect. Now next function that we are going to see is handles submit. So const handle submit, it will be of type react dot form event and e dot prevent default. Okay, we can make it type like that also. Both are basically the same, only I just, you can make whatever you want. You can change it to that. Now in the handle submit, we need to submit our data. Now this on submit function, we will click handle submit here, but it will call some function. What function it will call? It will call an on submit function. Where is that on submit function? Here it is, a on submit function. And this on submit function we will define in the home component. So it will have to transfer there, and now we will be doing form data. It will pass form data to it and will pass book cover to it. Okay, or we will just say undefined. Either it is a book cover or it is a undefined. Okay, something like this. And we will then say on close like this, simply. Perfect. Now when this, we have to handle a case that when this whole edit book component should be visible. So if is open is false, return null. Okay, so this condition we have to add. So in case only when is open is true, you have to display this whole thing, else just return a null, right? So this will make a sense. Now we have already done this. Now we have to come to our home page. Okay, because the main logic processing happens here. Now we have to set up some of the variables, some of the states for our handles edit dialog things. So what we will say is edit dialog open. Okay, we are setting up the state. Okay, so to manage all these things. So let's copy this and paste it here, make this capital and say use state, and initially it is false. Okay, and second thing is we need to track that which book we are going to edit. So for that we will have another state. This is book to edit and set book edit. Okay, so we have to handle this also. Again, use a state of type book DTO. We will pass null, book type, or it can be null. Okay, both values. Right, now what we are going to do is, now we need to on click of this. Here we have added the on click, but we have to display the dialog box also. Okay, so for that we will have a JavaScript block here for displaying that thing. So to display that, we will say book to edit, which the book that we have to pass, and we will just pass a component. So edit book component. So this has to be displayed. Now this component takes props. Okay, it will take a book. So we will pass book to edit. This is the book to edit thing. Then it will take is open. So we will pass is edit dialog box. Then we will pass on close. So we will have a function for handle on close. Okay, we'll write a function for that, and on submit, that once we are submitting to the backend, what function we want to call, handle update book. Okay, so this will be an API call to the backend. So this is how we deal with the props. So from here we are basically calling it. So from the home page, when you click on it, the book object will come here. We will make this as true and we will call these functions. Okay, so these are the main objectives. And when the dialog opens, we just have to do, what we have to do is we just have to pass, or we have to just, the form will be there, the data will be populated, we just have to change the data that we want. We have to click on submit. As we click on submit button will get called. So this on submit button, when it will get called, it will take the form data that is required to update the book, and it will take a file. If the file is there, it will pass an undefined. Okay, and that it will pass to the home component. Home component has a handle update book method, which will be basically a API call. Okay, then we are calling on close. So on close is to close the dialog. So for that also we are having a handle on close. Right, so this is how we are going to handle it. Now let's handle each of the functions. Okay, so first thing is handle edit. Now in the handle edit, what we'll do? So handle edit is a function which we have to make when we click on the button. So as we click on the button edit, what we have to do is we have to do set book to edit as the current book, okay, the book that we are getting from here, and set is edit dialog open as true. So the dialog opens here. Now when the dialog opens, we are doing some editing, so all those things are being handled here, right? Once we submit, we have to write the functions which will get called. So for them, so which functions are going to get called from here? So we have already defined, right? Handle update book. So this function is going to get called. So we will say const handle update book, and it will have two things. Updated book, we will have an updated book of type book DTO, and book cover file, it is an optional, so of type file. Okay, now simply we are going to handle this. Also we have something known as a handle on close. Okay, so what will be the functionality of this one? This doesn't return anything basically. So what we are going to do is we are set book to edit as null and set is dialog open as false. Simple. So these two functions are very easy. It is just to handle the state of the dialog. This is an important function. So what we have to do is we simply have to do the same submit data and new form data. Now as I said, submit data dot append. What you have to append? So here in the update book, if you see, we are adding, okay, we need a ISBN also, and we need this book to DTO JSON. So we will add this. We will add JSON dot stringify, and we will have updated book. If book cover file is there, then we will have submit data dot append file as book cover file. Okay, and then we have to call an update book method. So let's construct that method. Let's write the method basically. So we will say update book, we will make it async. Okay, so it will take a form data only, basically form data, and it will take an ISBN. So it is a number. Perfect. Now we will simply say return await axios dot put, and then we will call base URL slash API slash v1 slash books slash what we have update book. Okay. We have update book slash in dollar, again we will pass the ISP, okay, and comma form data. So this is how we have wrote this book service class also, right? Now simply we have to call this book service class here, update book. So update book is coming from this here. So now we are going to pass submit data. We are going to pass updated book dot ISBN, updated book dot ISBN, and then we will have two things. Either we will get a successful response. So if we get a successful response, what we are going to do? First we are going to console this update book response equal to response. Okay, and then we have to call the API for getting all the books. So here we have wrote this API inside the use effect directly. So let's define in another function, get books maybe. Okay, here we will define a function, or simply let's define a function like this, and let's put whole things here. Okay, and get books will be passed here so that we can reuse it. Okay, that's the whole purpose. So we will say get books so that all the updated books, the information get updated. Okay, and then we will say handle, and we will call the handle on close simply, so that our dialog closes, right? Then we will have catch block will have an error, and this error we will just console for now. So error updating book, we'll see what kind of error we are getting, if in case we are getting any error. This handle delete will also be the same like that, you'll see soon, because again in the handle delete also what we have to do is we have to create the props like that, and we have to do the same operation like that. Okay, so first let's save these things and let's see if the current functionality is working. So if I click on edit, as you can see our edit functionality is working. We have got this edit book and all these things. So suppose I want to, don't try to change it, the ISBN number should not get changed actually. So what we'll do is I'll just press cancel here. I'll go here in edit book and I will probably remove this. Let's comment it out for now, or let's not comment it, let's make it read only. Okay, because we don't want, because it's a primary key, so we don't want it to be changed. So if we do it, you see here we are not able to do anything. It's a read only field. Now here we can change whatever we want. Suppose you write brief of history time 2, or better, revised edition. Stephen Hawking is fine. Book explains about the origin and fate of the universe from Newtonian to modern theories. Suppose I'm just adding like this, okay, to test it out. So rather than popular science, I'll just make it science. From 22.25, I'll make it 25.45. From quantity 100 to 1000. And if you want to choose another image, you can choose it. So I'll just select a new image, maybe the brief history of time. Let's select another image, maybe. Okay, let's select this image. Fine. So I'll save this image. It will be a .png file. Save. Okay, and I'm going to select a new image. So if I select a new image, you have got a new image. If you click on save changes, it saves the changes. So to see the image, we can just come over here and we'll see here that our brief history of time here got changed. Okay, it has not got changed. Let me check once if we have got any error or what. Okay, some error we have got. So let's see what error we are getting. Request field with this. Why we are getting the error? Let's see. Okay, this is the same error that you guys must be getting, some of you. This is a problem of Windows. Can't do anything much. Let's restart the process. That's the only thing I can do. Let's see if it will get fixed or not, or I have to restart the whole application itself. I mean the IntelliJ IDEA. So let's close it, let's edit it, let's universe, and talks about new theories. Okay, we say revised edition. We'll change it to $30. We'll change it to 1000. Let's change the cover. Let's change it to here. Okay, again the same issue is coming up. So the best way to handle this issue is stop the application, close it, and start it again. Yeah, this issue comes up in IntelliJ IDEA, that especially in Windows, if you're working with that, the process gets stuck up. So let's restart our application. So we have restarted our application here. Now let's go back, go here, let's refresh, edit. Last time I'm doing it, hopefully it should not do it again. Revised, just edit a dot and maybe something really to read, and change it to 30, change it to 1000. Image here, brief time, select the image, save the changes. Okay, it's failing again and again. Okay, let me figure out a solution for it. Okay, so the problem that we were facing is now resolved, and there is a workaround, you can say, at least for the Windows system. But because in the Windows there is a different way of handling all these system level processes, since we are storing files on the OS file system, right? So what I've done is I've added this code, a completable future code. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to run this copy process of file and here the delete process, both asynchronously. Okay, so that there is no exception coming up. So these copy things get executed as per our requirement, and delete will get executed once. So delete will be handled by a separate thread, right? Now the problem which we get in Windows is because the same main thread is trying to delete this, as well as here trying to upload the file and trying to all the things are being done by the main thread. But now since we are using completable future and running our code asynchronously, so we don't get the blockage. Now if you see here, I have uploaded this file, a brief history of time. Whereas this brief history of time.png, which was the previous file, right? It is still not deleted because the process is running asynchronously on ran by another thread. But the thing is that particular file is being locked by a system. Okay, so that's why it has not got deleted, and it is kind of a problem in Windows. But the main thing is, normally we don't, when we talk about uploading the files, downloading the files and all those things, so we use either third-party services like Cloudinary or DigitalOcean or AWS, right? So these are the services that we mostly use. Okay, so this project was just an example of how to do file upload and all these things, but this completable feature mostly is a, you can say, I have used as a workaround for the Windows thing, because I have tested this code without completable feature on on Ubuntu and all. So there is no problem as such, right? So in Windows there is some kind of problem if you are directly dealing with the Windows operating system, its own file system. Okay, so it works a bit differently. So this is the way how you can edit the files. Okay, so now if you come here and see the image, so now this new file has been came. Okay, so edit functionality has been completed. Now there is next functionality known as delete functionality, right? So here we have delete left. So how do we do this handle delete function, right? So this one I'm giving you as an assignment. Okay, so I will push all this code into the git in my git repo. Okay, and I'm not implementing currently the handle delete thing and all the delete thing. You try yourself. Now why I'm saying this, because you should get the hands on with your, so that you can develop the confidence in it. The delete is also same to it. Okay, you have to write a component like a delete book component. So let me do some boilerplate for you. So we will say delete book.tsx. Okay, and then we will say rfce. Okay, let's remove this. Now what we have to say do is, the way you have implemented this edit book props, the same way you have to write all these delete book props. Okay, so I also be giving you this delete book props. Okay, just a minute. So we will write delete book props. The implementation is the thing that you have to do. So you will here also get a book, and it will be of type book DTO. Okay, and you will get is open, it will be of type boolean. On close, it will be void, it will return nothing. It will be basically a function thing, and it will be also a call to a function. It will take an ISBN. That's it. So here you just need an ISBN, nothing else, and it will return nothing. Perfect. Now this much I'm giving you as an assignment. I have provided you with the delete book props. In the same way, the way we have used all these props here, and we have passed these props as an actions to this home page, and then here we have called it. Okay, so we will have something like here, like book to edit, we will have book to delete. Okay, so let me write this also for you. Okay, so what I will do is const book to delete. Okay, and set book to delete. Okay, and we will actually be using the same, so let's copy paste. Okay, this will be same, in fact this also will be same. So rather than is edit, you will say is delete dialog open. Here also just replace edit with delete. Okay, and now what you can do is simply write book to delete, and put your delete book comment. Okay, let it be self-closing. Now you have to pass all these 4 props into your delete book component, like we have passed here. If you see where it gone, okay, here like this, right? So you will pass like this, you will implement the logic, and this whole boilerplate I'm giving it to you as an assignment. So, and what you have to do in the pop-up, you just have to get a confirmation. If the user says yes, or if your button has a confirm button, then if it clicks on confirm, just call a function that will call a delete API. Okay, and even delete API, now 3 APIs we have written, 1 API is there for delete. If you go here, we have a 1 delete API. So you will write this delete API. It is very simple. It is just path variable, no form data, nothing, right? So this one I'm leaving for your assignment to do, right? So let's just make it like this. Okay, perfect. So all the major boilerplates I have written, there are logic, and there is a opportunity to write a API call in the book service for delete. So that you will write. Okay, and you will complete it. And in the comment section, you can also share your solutions, or you can write in the comment section that you have completed it. Okay, so this much code I will push, and later in the future, sometime I will, if there are lots of people who are able to do it, then I will also share my own code with you. Okay, so That's all we have achieved here. Now, seeing all these projects, you may be thinking that okay, we have got very less. There is very less in this project, not nothing bigger. So earlier my plan was to extend this a bit more, but now I will keep this project up to this only. The reason behind this was I wanted it to be an introductory project for you if you already know about Spring Boot and React. So this is the introductory project for you. We will work on some good project, a good level project in terms of complexity also. So and more functionality in future or in later videos that I have planned up. So for that you have to wait for some time that we will be coming up with such projects and we will learn in depth about the full stack development and more advanced concepts in using Spring Boot and using React. Okay, so this was just a introductory project. You must have got some idea about it. So I just wanted to give you today the basic revision of it. Okay, so if we come to add book, what we have done is we know that in our add book API we need two things. There are two parts basically, the two parts of request. One is this JSON and second is this file, which is optional. So the same thing we have done. We have separated out JSON and we have handled the file and its preview. Okay, then we have handled the JSON thing, that what will happen if our form data is getting changed, the field if we are making the change, and what will happen if we are changing our files. So we are handling using this. Second is when we want to submit the data and when we want to add the book, then we are creating a form data, appending all these things and simply calling the API, right? So this was as simple as that. And these forms are also very simple. In every field we were attaching this name, value and on change, right? These three are important. Then in the home button, if you see, we have this edit and delete button. So for the edit, what we have done is we have said that on the click of button, handle edit, thus we will get the book object, that particular book object, and we will open the dialog. Okay, and then after opening the dialog, so hey, once the dialog is open, it will have a form. So we have a form data to handle, we have a book, a file to handle, and we have a file preview to handle. And then the same thing we are doing as we were doing in the add book. Also, before this dialog opens, we have added a condition that this is open props should have a value passed as true. Only then we are going to open this book, else we are not going to open, right? So here also we are just populating the data that we are getting from here, this, as we are setting the book attribute, book object value here. So this same book object is being populated here with data. Then we make the changes, and then if you see here, we have a handle submit. Now this handle submit basically calls this on submit button, on submit function, and when we pass this on submit function, what it do is, you can see here, while on submit is passed, we are calling this handle update book. This handle update book is simply doing that, creating an form data object and doing the same API calls that we have seen in the add book. Now coming to the delete book, you have to now implement all the things. I have given you the boilerplate for the delete book component. I have given you the interface for it and wrote a boilerplate here. Okay, so I hope that you have understood the concepts behind the complete full stack development, and also a small change here that we have added this completable feature. So this is basically for the Windows machine. For any operating system it will work definitely, but for Windows it is actually necessary, because in Windows the way the file system works is a bit different than Mac or Ubuntu or Linux based OS, and this is nothing but asynchronous code, a code run asynchronously by a separate thread. Okay, so this is the addition that we have done, right? Fine. So now this project as a introductory full stack Spring Boot React project, we have completed this. Now moving forward, we are going to do a very good and very interesting project going forward, and hope you will learn from that also, but it will take some time before I come up with that. So this project is officially over up here, and now this series is also over. So I want you to go through the series multiple times, see it, the concepts behind it, and if there is any doubt, then you can post in the comments section. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this series. I hope you have learned a lot about how to build a full stack Spring Boot React project. Okay, so this was a bit of a modern approach that I have taken, though it is a bit very much introductory, so you may not have felt that much, but still we have taken a lot of approaches that will be helpful for you when you will be going to work in the industry, right? So with that, please do subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and press the like button if you are liking the project. Share it more and more. Press the like button, give your comments, because the more you do that, the more there is a motivation for me to make such amazing videos. So I will see you in the next one. Till then, bye bye.